Hi guys, how are you? Okay, so what we're going to be doing today is that we're going to be making some buildings by using color construction paper, which I have some green, I have yellow, I have another kind of green, I have turquoise. You could definitely use more variety of colors. The other thing that I'm going to be using is a watercolor painting that I made. So you don't have to go this colorful route, but I can think of it as a mural, or I could just think of it as a building that just has multiple colors. Now, if you travel around the world, you will see that, and you will also see colorful buildings, so that's not something out of the norm. The other thing that I grabbed was some white paper. It's actually a sheet that I'm not using the other side so I can read. You need a pencil, you need a glue stick, you need a ruler, right? Because you're going to be making lines. So what I do, if it were this paper and I can see over here that I'm going to be, excuse me, I'm going to be designing it in such a way that I can show, I can even maybe make 2 buildings out of this, right? We need a total of 12 buildings. So they don't all have to be big, but they should be different sizes. Some more wider, some are longer. So let's just go ahead and get started. Okay, here we go. All right, so we have the paper. I turn the paper around, and then I just grab my ruler and I make a line. So this building could be wide, right? And I'm just gonna go ahead and cut it. So I just made it like this. I'm gonna go ahead and continue. So if you notice, I drew the lines on the opposite side of my watercolor painting, the back side of it. So now I have a building that has some white, and it looks, I think it looks pretty cool. I can go a little bit shorter for this building, which I am, so I just fold it over here, and I'm gonna go shorter, okay? All right, so I have my building right there. And if I really look at it, it's not perfect in that it looks like the top is a little bit wider. So all I have to do is just make a line in the back and quickly fix that. Now, this is already like cut, but I can see, remember that the paper that we're going to be using, we don't want the house to be too big. So, and we don't want the house to be the same width. So this is relatively about the same width. So I'm going to go a bit more narrow. First step is obviously making the line, and I'm going to go a little taller on this one. And actually, you know what I could do? I can make this building have sort of an arch, like sort of like a dome type of thing over here, right? Looking like almost like if I did a door. Did you see that? So I'm going to go ahead and cut. So right there, I have 2 potential buildings. It's pretty easy to do this. And then you just have to kind of decide, how do I want my windows? Do I want them to be yellow? Do I want them to be white? Do I want them to be another color? So now I have the turquoise, right? And I actually like these little things on top because this was part of a binder clip. So when I cut or when I draw, I'm going to draw in such a way that I will keep those little bits because I think they're pretty cool. And I'm going to make a line. And I'm going to go a little wide with this one. Okay, so now this is too long. I don't want it to be that big, but I can keep it that big. I'm actually going to go shorter because I want this to be one of the shorter buildings that are there. Now I can definitely use some of the rest of the paper and I can make a taller building out of it, but this is where I'm going. And like I said, I really like those little cutout circles because that could be the type that maybe you have design on the top of a sort of like a tower or a building. You know, sometimes they do different things. And so now I have this building, right? Now you're saying these are just squares, rectangles. That's not really that cool, Miss Lena. I'm going to go with this gray that I also have. And I think I'm going to leave as is. Or maybe I could just even be more interesting and just cut up sort of like squares and just make it look sort of like a castle type of thing. You can be very creative with this, right? And I can see that this is now a building, right? All right, now we also have a green now, but I'm gonna save the green for now because I want us to get into the other practical parts. So you are gonna be making windows. And windows, so I have some of this leftover yellow. I'm not gonna let that go to waste. I'm gonna cut it. And you wanna make the windows, basically you wanna make the windows about the same size. You don't wanna go and say all the windows are just, so the best thing to do is obviously fold, because if you fold, then that already tells you you are gonna be at the same size, width, right? Okay, so then you go ahead and you cut that. Now, you should cut it now because if you fold it later, it gets a little harder because this is not regular paper. Then you just simply fold this in half and then fold it. So then you fold it in half, cut, fold this in half, cut, fold this in half, cut, and you could even go fold this in half, cut, right? Because some places have taller, tall looking, really huge windows, and some places have very small windows. Windows could also be circles, but I would have to say circles are pretty hard to cut. So you don't want to necessarily cut circles out, but you can, right? You can get a coin, the smallest coin you can find, because you don't want to have huge circles, but you can, because there are windows that are in fact circles. So if you notice, by folding everything, I'm ensuring that this is going to be, excuse me, the same size, right? The same width, the same size. So I have folded this and I have a whole bunch of these, right? And I actually may need more. So if you are going to be gluing, right, which you are, you need to first, once you get a hang of it, you don't need to really do this step, but while you're there, you want to first put, and I noticed that I cut a little bit uneven, so I can even go halfway and cut it across so that it's like a little square. And I think I'm going to do it for this building. There you go. All right, so I have them like this. So I can easily, let's go look. I can easily place my windows and just approximate, say, how many windows am I going to need? So from looking at this, I need only 3 windows per level, right? So I have now 3 windows per level, and I'm going to just keep going and putting them out like that, right? And then the next step obviously would be to glue them, right? They're not perfect because I'm kind of rushing while I cut it. You will be, in fact, taking your time. So this is much faster, I think, than doing a watercolor painting. But watercolor painting is good to kind of like mix it up. You don't want to have always the same thing. And you do want a door. So I can be like, you know what? I want a turquoise door for this building. So I cut a longer rectangle, and there you go. So I'm going to go ahead and start gluing. Okay? So I laid it out. I can add more as I go along, and I'm going to do the windows. Okay? It's pretty simple from here. You're just laying out the windows, and you kind of want to make sure that they're evenly spaced. You want to make sure you definitely have glue. And it's pretty easy. And like I said, it will add another element of collage, because this is in fact a collage. You are gluing windows to a building, so you are in fact collaging, right? And I'm just gonna go ahead and continue. I could even draw people in the windows if I really wanted to, because it's a light color, but you don't have to do that. I'm gonna go ahead and cut just a few more because I think this is pretty much it. Right? I'm making my last row of windows. And it would be really interesting to see that if you do in fact incorporate the watercolor painting like I did, how would that look? You know, what kind of window would look good? I think yellow windows would actually look good in that, or maybe even orange ones or red ones, who knows? Maybe even turquoise ones. So now I have this. As you can see, it is now a building, right? With a little bit of a sort of a castle top. Now with this one, I can be like, well, you know something, Lena? This one has this is like an art. So I can actually get my color pencil and I can draw on it. I can draw, so if this were something, let's go ahead and look. If this were something that is sort of like a dome, I can imagine that it has its own windows. Now, the other route is to just not cut out windows, like if the paper is light enough, right? As is in this case. And I can be like, you know what, Lena, I'm going to draw the windows, right? And since I made a line there by mistake, and I can actually go and make a row, right, across, a line across, and be like, you know, every few windows are going to be separated by sort of a line across, right? And if you look at some buildings, some buildings have birds, like not birds that are real birds, but they could have like stone objects, right? And so I'm going to go ahead and just do that. And then I could say, well, you know, for this one, since I'm drawing it, I can make the windows oval. So you can see, not sure we'll continue videotaping. Let's see. You can see that I have now ovals. And that's pretty much it for today. Just be creative, try, use color construction paper, use paper that's lying around, paintings that are lying around. You have a lot to do. Anyway, have a good fun. Bye.